Hey guys, this week's podcast is brought to you by HighSpots.com, who presents Wrestle Reunion. January 27th, 28th, and 29th at the LAX Los Angeles Hilton. Come meet all the stars, plus awesome shows, plus a live Art of Wrestling podcast. That's going to be available and much more. Go to WrestleReunion.com for more information, but now enjoy the show.
This is the Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
It's Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. Let's make the most of it. Put in those tweaked audio earbuds and listen to me for the next hour as we talk on the art of wrestling. It's a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds, the souls, the hearts, and the lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host. My name is Colt Cabana. My alias is Boom Boom. I am a Chicago native, an entrepreneur, a small businessman, a podcaster, but most importantly, hey, I am a professional wrestler. We are sitting here live in the studio apartment back from Mexico. I'm in Chicago, Illinois. Before we get any further, let's get some business out of here. This is a fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every single Thursday on WeLoveColt.com and iTunes. Please subscribe on iTunes so we can give it to you Thursday morning. Goes right to your computer. You don't even have to worry about it. If you want to support, you can. Hey, how about leaving a positive 5-star review on iTunes? Maybe telling a friend what's going on over here, what we're doing. But if you got a couple bucks, I appreciate the support monetarily to keep this thing rolling. ColtMerch.com. That's the only way I ask monetarily. ColtMerch.com. I have t-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs. I have the brand new stick figure t-shirts drawn by the talented and award-winning, you'll hear more about that later, Jill Thompson, at the Jill Thompson on Twitter. And I've got some new posters coming up. I got the new buttons by MutantCactus.com. These are all great ways you can support this podcast, keep this thing rolling for free. That's ColtMerch.com. Hey, my old buddy, Bryan Danielson. Bryan is now on the podcast. We're having him on. We did the movie. Now we're doing the podcast. And we chat a long time in here, so that I'll keep this monologue a little bit short. I won't ramble too much. Great to have him on. Great to see him. And he talks a lot about camaraderie in here, missing the days of being with the boys. And, I talked about last week, I went to a tour in Mexico, and that's the little things. You do the shows. I wrestled with these legends, but at the end of the day, you're stuck for days upon hours with these guys. And either you could make friends, like I did with Liz Mark Jr., my new buddy, or, you could ignore people and kind of live a miserable life, which some people choose to do. But I had a good time. And I want to talk about, last week I talked about how I wasn't that scared. Nothing happened. Well, I didn't mention this. I just found out this tidbit. Chavo says to me, "Hey, you know why there wasn't such a good house in Rio Bravo like last time?" And I thought that was interesting, but I was all right. I thought maybe just the numbers were down. He was like, "Oh, because they bombed the Pizza Hut and the KFC, so people were scared to come out of their houses." Yes, I was wrestling in a town. They could have bombed the Pizza Hut, the KFC, and the local high school gym we were at, but they didn't. Just the Pizza Hut and the KFC. And some people think that's, I don't know, death threats or whatnot. I think it's a wake-up call. Pizza Hut, maybe you should start serving a little bit better pizza. That's just, I don't think it had anything to do with the mafia or gangs or gang warfare in Mexico. It was, hey, Pizza Hut, step up your game. We've all had the buttered crust. It gets annoying after 2 pieces. Maybe it's time to do a little Chicago style. But hey, you never know. I don't know what's going through these guys' mind, but that was an interesting tour. And again, back to the camaraderie. Bryan was on the indie scene for so long, and he did all these travels, and we wrestled, and it's all documented on the Road Diaries. But it's fun now to sit down and to hang out with him. So this is we're back to it. We're back to me and him sitting, talking, and we're filming it audibly. Yeah, we're filming it audibly just for you guys. Song of the Week this week brought to you by WrestlingIsFun.org. You guys know that I stand for fun times in professional wrestling, and that's what this organization is going to do also. It's a brand new promotion debuting in the Philadelphia area November 18th and 19th. So if you're around there, please check out this website. They're going to put the fun back in wrestling with an emphasis on characters and personalities. I'm all for it, guys. I appreciate what you're trying to do. It's an all-ages show. Bring the children, bring the nephew. You got little nieces. You want to go on a date? This is a perfect date show right here. November 18th and 19th, wrestlingisfun.org. Now, the song this week is by Kimmy Dawson. She sang the song for Juno. This is a tribute. It's called Captain Lou. Now, if you're going to skip this over, I assume by the end of this conversation with Brian, you're going to be back listening to this once again. There's a little surprise in there for you if you didn't get the hint already. All right, here we go. Kimmy Dawson, Captain Lou. We'll be back with Brian Daniels, with Daniel Bryan. All right, enjoy.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, each week we bring you the Art of Wrestling podcast absolutely free of charge. We're able to do that because of our supporters and sponsors, so please take a second, check these guys out. OneHourTees.com. Make your own custom t-shirts to your own liking in an hour, a week, or whenever you need them at OneHourTees.com. SundayNightStew.com. Hollywood superstar Stu Stone is live and interactive on the internet every single Sunday night. SundayNightStew.com. MutantCactus.com. These guys are making an attempt to make the world rad again. How are they going to do it? Well, through their own designs or custom designs of buttons, magnets, keychains, and much more. Check them out, MutantCactus.com. TweakedAudio.com/Colt, the very best earbuds in the business. And for only Art of Wrestling listeners, get over 30% off and free shipping if you go to tweakedaudio.com/Colt. If you want to advertise on the Art of Wrestling podcast, you can. Just send an email over to coltwrestling@gmail.com. Subject, advertising. Thanks.
It's Cabana.
Hey guys, how you doing? Back on the podcast with a gratefully bearded gentleman sitting in front of me. Daniel Bryan?
Brian Danielson, who knows? Lloyd Boner. I go by many names.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, like, when Seidel became Evan Bourne, I was like used to the Evan transition. Are you like? Do people call you Daniel now?
Yeah, people call me Daniel, and in fact, Teddy Long calls me Soul Man Danny B, and like Cody Rhodes is taken to call me Dirty Dan and stuff like that, and so, but it is strange when people just call me Daniel or Danny or something like that, because like I prefer.
Fake name has a nickname.
Yeah, so it is kind of strange.
Wow. All right, well, for like, I don't know, how's it going there with everything? I mean, how let's ask this. After doing like fucking the indie ride, the roller coaster for so long, what's the weirdness of? I mean, or that transition to.
Do you know what the strangest thing to me is? And I was just thinking about this the other day as I was listening to your podcast with Sal Renaro, and it actually made me very nostalgic, because it seems to me like I don't have that camaraderie with people in WWE, with the talent there, and it's and I'm not sure why that is, but I talked to Nigel McGuinness maybe a week or two ago, and then and just thinking about like Generico and like Jimmy Jacobs and stuff like that, there's a certain like, I don't know, the conversations and stuff were different, and like you would it's just strange. The relationships that I have with the other WWE talent is not the close relationships that I had with the people on the independents.
Do you think money like has to do with anything? And
I don't.
Everything with me goes back. Like,
right, and it could be something to do with money. It could be, and I was trying to think about this, because I'm sure there are guys who I would get along with really well. But the thing is, you're not riding with everybody. We would actually all just get in a van, so you have to talk to everybody, and you'd be at all these shows with all these different people. But you can literally be at a WWE show and see somebody once or twice and only say hello to them and not actually have to communicate with them,
Ooh.
And so
we got a guest here.
Yeah. So, it's just strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but on the house show loops you're doing, are you guys overseas tours?
Yeah, but you're essentially with the same guys all the time. Like, I ride with the same guys all the time, and so you're not. So somebody like, for example, Jimmy Jacobs. When I first met Jimmy Jacobs, I hated him. Right? Like, you just look at him and you're just like, oh gosh. And, and he's kind of a loudmouth a little bit. But then when you get to know Jimmy, I love him. Like, right. He's hilarious. He's smart, like he's fun to talk to. He's interesting, he has good stories. Like, and the same thing with like El Generico. And not that I speak Spanish, but if I did, he'd be very funny. And so, I mean, it's, like, I'm sure there are guys like I would really get along with in WWE, but I just never ride with them. So,
well, who's your riding crew?
I ride with Ted DiBiase and Sheamus, and so yeah, they're both good guys. We all get along real well, but it's a completely different atmosphere than the nonsense and shenanigans that were you with us when me, Adam Pearce, and I want to say what was his name? He was in WWE. He was good friends with Pearce. Remember?
X-Pac?
No.
Hulk Hogan?
No.
DDP, Pearce?
Brent Albright.
Okay.
Yeah, and we all got these like cut off vests. And
I saw the picture.
Yeah. It was like these cut off jean shirts and stuff, and like I mean, just pulling off and just doing shenanigans. And
well, you've always, and we've talked about this, and this is. We've talked about this forever, obviously, and we had the idea to do the Road Diaries too. But the idea of the Butlins camps, and like that is riding the camps in England, which you were you always praised highly.
Yeah, I loved Butlins, and mostly because it was just so much fun, right? We go there, you set up the ring, you tear down the ring, and a lot of people think that kind of stuff is demeaning. Like, if you asked a lot of WWE superstars to set up the ring and tear down the ring, they probably wouldn't do it. I was doing it as recently as 2008 and had no problems doing it because it's fun with the boys, you know what I mean? It's just we go, we drive, we do it, we go to the bar afterwards, and I don't even drink, but we're doing karaoke and we're dancing and we're having a good time, and, you know, it's...
I say goodbye, buddy.
Goodbye, buddy. My shoes are dry.
We're podcasting in Punk's Hotel Palace
I
here.
need to say a lot of bad things about me now that I'm gone.
He's the worst. He doesn't have a beard.
Yeah. CM Punk's beard is weak.
I would usually, and I guess to keep yourself sane in all this stuff, is I think you have to like play games when you put up the ring and like sing random songs or like these are tactics I would use to keep myself from going crazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
almost like a what were those things? Like a dozer,
yeah.
You know, from Fraggle Rock.
Well, it's interesting because I never minded setting up rings or anything like that. I like the camaraderie. That's one of the things I loved about wrestling. But it's funny because me and Claudio Castagnoli, we had this really long trip to Australia, and I was adamant about not complaining. In my yoga class, we were doing this complaint-free month. We were going to try to go the entire month without complaining, and I had this wristband, and every time you complained, you had to switch your wristband. So, but this flight, it was literally like Claudio's was like 38 hours. Mine was 32 to get to Australia. We had like 8-hour layovers. And instead of complaining, we just, and I don't know what this is from, but it reminds me of slaves in those Disney movies. And we just sing, oh, 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 So,
I love this flight. I love to travel.
So,
wow, well, you dropped the yoga bomb on us like that. Eccentric, is this the word?
Eccentric.
I mean, you have some. Now you're a vegan out of left field. You're a yoga man.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing yoga for a long time, and the vegan thing was more of a health issue. When I had gotten signed by WWE, or when I had gotten offered the deal, it was at the same time as Nigel McGuinness in 2009, and we both ran into extensive health problems when they were doing all the testing and everything. And so I had elevated liver enzymes, which is covered in Wrestling Road Diaries. I had some heart issues. I had high blood pressure, and this is all I always ate relatively healthy, and
except for a Cinnabon.
Oh my gosh! Every probably once every couple months I would have a Cinnabon, and one time I had 3 Cinnabons in a row. but that's besides the point. But yeah. So I went to my doctor, and I kept getting staph infections. In 2009, I had 3 different staph infections, 5 skin infections total. And it's mostly because I grapple so much. I'll spend 3 to 5 hours a day grappling, and no matter how clean they keep the mats, you're still going to get some sort of infection. Well, you can get some sort of infection. There's bacteria on there, but most people don't. And I am just very susceptible to them because I have a really weak immune system. So anyways, I went to the doctor, and he said one way to help that is you can just stop grappling so much, it's kind of my passion and my hobby. And so, and the other thing is you can try this vegan diet, and the idea is that meat takes so much energy for your body to digest that you're not using that energy to fight off bacteria. And so yeah, since I've been vegan, I haven't had any skin infections at all, and I'm still grappling quite a bit. I have gotten sick, but not as much as I usually do.
Do you miss meat?
I miss the convenience of meat. At 11 o'clock at night when you're driving through Louisiana, there's not exactly a lot of vegan options. So I have to bring a lot of food with me on the road.
Now, you said grappling is your passion.
Yes.
And in that same statement, you said you no longer eat meat.
Yes.
But I know that there was another passion for bacon.
Okay. So this is a story. The best present I've ever gotten anybody So I was dating this girl, and I don't remember what her name was. This was when I was in high school, and I worked for KB Toys, right? And it's that awkward time where we just started dating around Christmas, and I bring her over this present, and she's not there, and so I drop it off at her parents, and she comes back, and she's with all her friends, and she opened it up, and like it's really light, and it's wrapped in paper and stuff. And like, oh, we think he got you lingerie, and keep in mind I was 17 years old. And I would never, never get a girl lingerie then. I probably wouldn't get a girl lingerie now, you know, and so she's thinking it's lingerie. She opens it up. She pulls out this T-shirt that says "Bacon is my passion," and we never went out again after that. Shockingly enough, but it was super over with her because I was deadlifting at home, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of deadlifting and probably 300 pounds or something, and I'm in the middle of doing this, boom, and a girl comes up behind me and whispers in my ear, "Bacon is my passion." and I literally dropped the weight and I turned around and it was her best friend from high school who I'd met once, and
was
then,
this years ago and when you're deadlifting or like recently enough?
This was 2005.
Okay, I mean,
So this is
that story stuck with that crew.
Yes, that was a good. Let me see, 7 years after.
Now, what goes through your mind, like? And the there was no S in is, right? Was it IZ?
No, it was IS.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Yeah, no. I wish I would have thought of it is.
So you're like, okay, I'm dating this girl. Man, what does she like? What should I buy her?
No.
And then you put it all together.
No. So it was one time we were talking on the phone one time, and she said, "Bacon is my passion," and she went off on it for probably a couple minutes, and I thought it was hilarious, and I'm like, oh, that's great, I'm gonna get her this T-shirt that says "Bacon is my passion." And see, that's where I make the mistake, is I listen to women. You don't actually want to listen.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. So yeah.
KB Toys.
KB Toys, worked at KB Toys.
There's got to be some. Were you there for the toys or for the good times?
No. So, man, I just didn't want to work at McDonald's anymore. And so
you were working at McDonald's?
Well, no. So here's the. It's a long story, but I worked at McDonald's when I was 15. I moved in with my dad. Started baling hay, which was so I moved in with my dad.
There's all this stuff we got to get
Yeah,
into.
and so I moved to my dad's place, which was Castle Rock, and I was baling hay. I worked at this place called Wilson's Leather. And then I moved back to Aberdeen, and then the only place that was really hiring was McDonald's. So I took the job because I just needed a job to save for wrestling school. And then, but then as soon as KB Toys hired me, bam, I was on it because that was way better than McDonald's.
You jumped ship.
I jumped ship. I don't even think I gave my notice. I think I left whatever check that I had at McDonald's. I think I left it there, and I just never came back. I didn't give them a notice. I just stopped coming in, which is the. I've done that with 2 different jobs too. So one at this cookie factory when I worked in San Antonio, Texas. When I first got my developmental deal in 2000, I had worked at this cookie factory for like 2 weeks, and then as soon as I got my developmental deal, I never went in again.
Wait, in my mind, it's like a manufacturing plant of cookies.
No. It's like one of those stands in the mall. Like I don't even. Yeah, you're just out there and. It's interesting. So I have to preface this by saying I have a lot of gay friends and my stepbrother's gay and all that kind of stuff. But so I started working at this cookie factory, and it was in the middle of a mall, and there was a girl working there with me and some other guys, and she was like,
"Bacon is my passion."
No, and there was a good-looking girl walking. I was like, "Oh man, that chick is hot." And she turns to me, she goes, "What?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she just said, "Aren't you gay?" And I was like, "No." Why would you think that? They said, "Oh, because
you got Cindy a Bacon is my passion."
No, because a lot of the guys who worked there were gay, and they thought I was gay, so that's why they.
Do you throw off those vibes?
I don't think so. Now I have. That's why I have the beard, because the beard.
Say, "Hey, I'm a man."
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just funny because it was just such a strange thing when I was 18 years old for that to happen. So.
I want to go beard, but I also want to go like also manly, and manly talks, the Aberdeen, Washington stuff.
Okay.
Now, we've had these conversations, but I think it just all kind of slips through my mind because I don't understand the world.
Okay.
So maybe you can hammer it down a little more. Now, Nigel calls you a clam digger or whatever.
Okay, yes.
But, like, that stuff's legit? Or?
Yeah, like, so I love digging clams.
Fuck.
Yeah, like it's done seasonally, you know, and there's specific weeks that you go out and do it, but you go out and dig clams. And the things that shock people is there's a thing called a clam gun, right? And it's not an actual gun or anything, but it's like, imagine when you put a straw in a thing of Coke and you put your thumb over the top of the straw and you pull out the Coke, right? And then when you let it go, then the Coke, it's the same thing with the sand. It's like the cylinder that you drive down into the sand, you put your thumb over a hole, and then you pull out the sand, and hopefully this clam is in the sand. So,
and were you doing this at a young age?
Yeah, I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Is that like a kid thing, or is that like an
no,
Aberdeen kid thing?
like it's a lot of people in Washington do it. Like people drive to the coast just to do this from hours away. Like, but like
Disneyland, nah.
But it's not a kid thing. It's like my dad still does it. Like I still love to do it. Like all my friends do it. So.
And what's the benefit of clam digging?
Clams. Clams are delicious.
Oh, you
eat
the clams?
Yeah, you eat the clams.
Do you make clamshell necklaces and stuff?
No.
With your sister, maybe?
No, I've never done that. But it's interesting because when you go and say you get clams in like a noodle dish or something like that, they're not the kind of clams that we have on. We have razor clams, which are these big long clams, and they're really good. So
are you a picky clam guy?
No, not really. I actually don't. When I was a kid,
of the vegan diet?
No, I don't eat clams now. Yeah, so
Your father must be so disappointed in you.
You have no idea.
Really?
You have no idea. So my dad is like this big hunter, and like he does all this stuff. Last year, for Thanksgiving, I had this tofurkey turkey that I was going to bring in, and he's like, "I'm not allowing that in my house.
Not in my house.
Not in my house. That abomination will not come in you."
I'm so disappointed. Traveling the world, doing your dream. I am disappointed in you.
So yeah.
How's your? We saw your sister in the movie. How's her kid doing? Okay?
Oh yeah, great. I actually just stopped by there this week, and Hayden is now 2 years old, and talking and running around, and she's just so cute and shy. And actually, my sister's pregnant with a second child now, which is awesome. So
we'll have to document that too.
Yeah,
just said they had a movie.
Yeah. So.
When I think of you, Brian, I think of almost like if our era of wrestling wouldn't like really have a Lou Thez or anything, but like that's like kind of you, I think.
Yeah. It's weird because I just did this signing for a collectibles thing, and it's interesting because a lot of people will come up to me and be like, "Man, I love that Ring of Honor stuff. You're the best." You're the best wrestler I've ever seen type stuff. And I don't buy into a lot of that kind of stuff. But it's interesting how differently those people perceive me from WWE people, because it's a totally different world, and I'm treated and perceived totally different. So.
And you notice that?
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, so I guess to almost take me through that, like, would it be if you're walking to a show? Mm-hmm. And is there a section of people, or where do you notice the split of people?
Well, I mean, you can just notice it when it's in lines like this. So it's a line of people who are coming up to me and being like, "Man, I love that match you had with Nigel McGuinness," or "I was there," because we're in New York City, so I was there for that match with Morishima, and I was there the night that you detached your retina and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, "Man, that was awesome," that sort of thing. And they're really passionate about it. Whereas the WWE fans are like,
and then next to him is a giant kid in like a Mysterio mask.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
And then they're like, "Oh, Daniel Bryan, I hope you cash in your Money in the Bank briefcase. Are you really growing your beard till WrestleMania?" like that sort of thing. And it's just a different. It's the way they treat you is different.
Are you doing is this the hockey thing? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it didn't start off as that. It just started off as I just hate shaving, and I don't know what's worse, shaving my beard or trimming my beard, but I don't want to do either. And so it's just a matter of growing it out, and then and then it's a good story kind of.
But the first time you did it was like awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a couple stories almost coming out of that. I remember, and I think it was almost going back, I think it was Lagana like, because you were like doing some enhancement matches, yeah, and
I'm
then
still doing enhancement matches.
but like you had this beard, and then someone like came up. I remember you coming back, and like someone came up to me and like was like, "I'm gonna pitch an idea," and you're like, "Oh, I was just here to kind of collect food or whatever." But,
Yeah.
But then and then also like something with New Japan, right?
I don't remember. So this is the problem: is that I have had multiple concussions and I don't remember very well.
Jeez,
but,
we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, but
I don't
no,
have time for your concussions.
I do remember the Lagana thing because I was growing my beard out, and the whole thing started with Christopher Daniels. I think it was Christopher Daniels saying, I don't know if Christopher Daniels started it or what, but I lost my razor in Japan. I lost my Bic razor that I was using to shave, and
Which you hated doing anyways.
I hated doing anyways, and I got back to the United States, and you know to get those nice razors, they're like $12, right? And so I was like, I'll just get one next week. I'll get one next week, and then all of a sudden, it's been a while, and I haven't gotten a razor. I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna grow it out. And Christopher Daniels was always telling me, and it's very true. I'm a slave to my whims. Like I just like get these whims and be like, I'm gonna do this. Okay, you know, like it's so. And then I was doing a dark match in 2005 or some sort of match for WWE, and then Dave Lagana comes up to me and be like, "Do you know that guy Bobby Fischer, the chess guy who went crazy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I would love for you to be wrestling's Bobby Fischer, like this crazy."
And that's right up your alley.
It's
almost.
right up my alley.
Are you a chess player too?
You know what?
See you chessing.
I do enjoy a good game of
Yeah.
chess. So
Does not surprise me.
So yeah, but that never panned out, obviously.
Never
so.
panned out, and like it's nice for me to see it now, like officially panning out. However, I don't know how it's seen, but like for me, you know, like I get to turn on TV and see my friend on television. But you've had a run of like kind of no.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because even since I signed with WWE, it's been kind of no, and like.
But that kind of no now is way different than sitting in Memphis with Regal and Brookside, right?
It's different because there was so much more optimism there. Like because you're 18. I was 18, 19 years old when all that was happening, and you just think, man, you know, like the sky is the limit with this, you know, and so it was like, oh, we're gonna bring back the cruiserweight division. You guys are in. Oh, we're not. You guys are down. You guys. Well, wait, no. You're fired, and you know, and it was, but none of it fazed me because at the time, you know, I was originally signed for $500 a week, which seemed like $1 zillion. So
Cookie Factory wasn't giving
yeah. I mean, $26,000 a year is not a lot of money. To me, it was the entire world, you know, and it was a huge difference between being able to start just living on $20 a month for groceries, and all of a sudden, man, I can buy regular food. I can go out to eat. I mean, all this stuff was just stuff that even as a kid, because I was raised in kind of a poor family, we never went out to eat. And so being able to do that kind of stuff, it was sweet.
Who are some of the guys? So I mean, obviously Regal's a huge. You always and you wear his colors.
Yes.
Yeah. Who else was down there? And I'd love to know just the not necessarily the great ones.
Okay, the Mean Street Posse was down there, and it's man, I love those guys. Those guys, Joey Abs was really good. Probably one of at the time the best big guy I had worked with. You know, Pete Gass was hilarious. Rodney was fantastic.
Would those guys talk to you about like because they were what Shane's friends?
So Joey Abs wasn't. He was one of
Right.
the guys from the Hardys Omega stuff, but like they'd never really talked to me about being Shane's friends, and it was strange because that was when like marijuana was okay in WWE, I think. Like so there was a drug subculture that I was not a part of at all. Nobody, and not only was I not a part of it, I wasn't even aware of it.
Or what it looked like, probably.
Yeah, like, and so like I was like, man, I can't believe these guys drink so much, you know, and like little did I know all the other stuff that was going on. So I mean, it was yeah. It was weird.
And Bobby Eaton, was he training?
Bobby Eaton, he was there training for a little bit, and then he had some differences with Terry Golden, the guy who was running the place, and so he was ixnayed. So Tracy Smothers came down through there, like one of the headbangers was there, the thinner one. I forget
Thrasher?
which one. Maybe Thrasher.
It's either Mosh or Thrasher.
Right.
I know that much.
Yeah, like Viscera came through there, Big Mabel, like.
And I'll ask this: was there any guys that? So I understand being 18, young, and almost stupid to the world.
Yes.
Probably still am. I am. But so there's older guys there. Was there any like one thing or anything just like you remember being like impressionable about, or that left an impression on you that this is what older people do, maybe in wrestling or just in life?
No, I literally have next to zero recollection of the entire thing.
Of the entire thing?
Of the entire thing.
Were you living with Spanky?
I was living with Spanky. Lived with Jason Sensation, a guy named Shooter Schultz, who was great, and all of us just kind of lived in this one big townhouse, and it was cool. And people would come in. Reckless Youth came in and lived there for a little bit. Molly Holly came in and lived there for a little bit. Like it was cool.
And so you get fired. Was it the end of the world for you, or?
I just didn't know what to do, really, because I ended up moving back home. I started going to school. I worked 2 jobs. I was lucky in the sense that the Haas brothers were down there, and they had, while I was under developmental, I did the Super 8 in 2001, which...
You were under developmental when you did that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And so it used to be, and people don't know this now, but the Super 8 used to be a huge deal. And so...
Me and Punk couldn't get in.
Yeah,
He wouldn't have us.
For independent wrestlers and stuff like that. And I got to the finals against Low Key, and that really helped me make my name, because otherwise I would have been screwed. I would have gone back, nobody would have booked me type thing. But after that, Jim Kettner was using me, then other people would start using me, and I was living in Washington and doing that kind of stuff and working 2 jobs and going to college and all that nonsense, and then Roland Alexander, the infamous from did you just do a podcast with him?
No, we were supposed to. We're going to do one next time I go back.
Oh, okay,
there,
yeah. He gave me a job as a trainer down there, which was a guaranteed $350 a week, and then I get to do my bookings on the weekend, and so yeah, it was golden after that.
So that $350 a week, were you making on top of the $500? They weren't paying you to do that?
No.
So $350 plus some extra money.
Yeah, $350 plus whatever I was making on indie shows, which wasn't a lot at the time. So a lot of weeks I'd bring in $500 or whatever, and didn't have rent or anything like that because Roland put me up at his place with his Uncle Al, cheerleader Melissa's dad, and Roland. We all stayed at this place, and
was it a sitcom waiting to be?
Yeah. So,
and then I don't know if this is well documented. I'm not sure, but you moved to LA, and you were living in your car, weren't you?
Yes, yeah. And so, but that was just for like a brief period of time, and then they let me. The New Japan had this Inoki dojo out in Los Angeles, and so I went there, and then eventually they let me sleep in the dojo, and I was the first one. Eventually they let a lot of people sleep in the dojo there.
But before eventually it was
just me.
in your car, yeah?
Yeah, and then when they had more people sleeping at the dojo, they had this apartment in downtown Santa Monica, cost $2,500 a month. They let me live there for free because I was going over to New Japan so much, and so occasionally I would I roomed with Lyoto Machida, the UFC fighter, and I roomed with him for a month or 2, and then Shinsuke Nakamura and stuff, and so
I remember I went over there once, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and it's the best free place I've ever stayed.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that's like you're a playboy almost.
Yeah,
living in that place.
Yeah,
going from your car, and then because you do a couple Japan tours now.
Yeah.
Which is how life should work.
Right. Now that you've done a couple of Japan tours, it should happen to you, right? Somebody should give you a free place on the beach.
Well, it's called Punk's Couch.
Right.
It's way better than my apartment. But in saying that, in New Japan, and I don't know if these are your stories to tell, but you would always come back on the road with us, and you'd always tell fun Scott Norton stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Scott Norton, and Scott Norton is He's a great guy. Like, he could have been one of those guys where he had the veteran status, and I've never drank in my entire life. And he could have tried to make me drink, and he's an intimidating dude and probably one of the strongest people I've ever. Him and Mark Henry are the two strongest dudes I've ever met. You know, but he was and Colt Cabana, and but he was so genuinely nice, but he also had this awesome temper where like little things like sounds and stuff would like set him off, like just a tink 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 would set him off. Yeah. And there was this one time where we were driving to the airport. We had plenty of time, you know. There's this car going slow in front of the bus that's driving us to the airport, and
so you're not even driving, you're on a bus.
No, we're on a bus, and we're just sitting there, you know, talking about whatever, and all of a sudden, like, Norton starts freaking out, like, what? Why is this guy going so slow? Why is he going? And like, finally the guy, like, Norton runs to the front of the bus, and I'm sure the bus driver was freaking out, but he's like shaking his fists at the front of the bus at this car, and finally this car pulls over, and he runs back to the end of the bus so he could put his fist out the window and shake his fist and I can only imagine what these poor tiny Japanese people are thinking as Scott Norton is sticking his big fist out the window and shaking it at him. But yeah, he was great. I love Scott Norton.
And did you arm wrestle him?
You know what? I asked him to lock up with me just for a picture. I locked, the arm wrestling lockup.
Is that do they have an official name for that position?
I think they just
is it just a lockup?
It's just locking up, yeah. But just grabbing him like that, you could just feel I couldn't move him with two hands.
Not even,
you know. And
would he tell you war stories from the arm? Was he in the arm wrestling circuit for a while? Like,
I think so. Yeah, he was like a world champion arm wrestler.
I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Over the Top,
and he's in that,
and he's in it.
Yeah,
yeah. Very short, because I'll go back and I'll look and I'll be like, holy shit. But because I used to memorize that movie, like, he wasn't one of the top 8.
Yeah, but
he wasn't Harry Bosco.
But he won that actual tournament to get in the movie. That's my understanding of it. But and do you know what I really liked about Scott Norton too is that he knew exactly what he was doing in the ring. Like, he was one of my favorite guys to team with over there. We had some really fun matches against Yuji Nagata and Jushin Liger and stuff. And so he was just a great guy to be around.
When you say he knew what he was doing in the ring, like he was just psychology, or
he knew what the Japanese crowd wanted from him.
I won't stop you shortly, but it was a pleasure for me when I just went on my first tour with Noah, was to be in there with Bison.
Yeah.
Because I not that, obviously I don't have as many experiences doing like the tours as you do, but I almost know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because like there's the big guy and he knew exactly what to do, and if I could just kind of step next to him and do my little shtick, but he can guide it.
Yeah, exactly. And like he knew exactly what to do when he was in there with the young guys to not make them look like young guys and stuff, and make them look. He really was a whole lot of fun to work with.
Do you remember how many tours you did of Japan? Because
I've done 30.
Fuck me.
Yeah. So because I started in 1999, and I did one tour for FMW with Lance Cade, and so
was Kigutaro there? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Oh.
So, but I did multiple tours with New Japan going over there. Like in 2004, I did 8 tours alone, and then so I did a lot of tours with New Japan, did a lot of tours with Noah and stuff, and yeah, it's right around 30 tours.
And who are the crazy guys? Any gaijins that like, was George Hines around? Is that a name?
George Hines is a name, but he wasn't that. Like, I really didn't meet any crazy gaijin guys. And
how about some randoms, like those early New Japan tours? There's got to be some.
There was just Dan somebody. He came out of the power plant, and he was Dan Devine. No.
Was it Ricky Rage and Robbie? Didn't you say you did stuff with them too?
No, I didn't know. I didn't
High
do anything.
Voltage?
Yeah, I didn't do anything with High Voltage, which
you wish you would have.
Yeah, I wish I would have. So yeah, I mean, it was mostly like I did some stuff with Rick Steiner. Bart Gunn was there, that sort of thing. And then when I was with Noah, it was just, it was a lot of just us Ring of Honor guys and Bison and stuff, so.
And who was the weirdest bond that you made with, maybe, that you didn't expect? Is it Norton? How about besides Norton?
It would have to be Norton. You know what? Do you know who I really got along with well was this referee named Tayama, and he doesn't work for New Japan anymore. But Tayama took such great care of us, and like he was just always so helpful and nice, but also funny, and so yeah, I had a really good bond with him. So
I'm trying to think. I'm always a big fan of so when we were in England, we'd always talk to these guys, and I'd read old stuff, and they'd all go to these random places. You'd always hear about people going on these random tours of like Dubai or whatever. And I know you've gone to a lot of different places. You did go. Where did you? We were in England together at the same time, and I remember you went somewhere awesome with
Cyprus.
Cyprus, yeah.
Cyprus was amazing.
And I was so jealous that everyone
Oh
was
my
going.
gosh, yeah, and we were there for 4 or 5 days and put up in this 5-star hotel right on the Mediterranean Sea, and literally not a single show drew more than 30 people. And it was this hard kickboxing ring with 4 ropes. Nobody wanted to take any bumps. I was taking back body drops every night just to pop Robbie Brookside. Just solely
For him to be like, what are you doing?
yeah, solely so Robbie would go, but what the hell are you doing? And the idea is that they were shooting it. They were filming this to put on TV in Cyprus to hopefully draw, but the advertising was horrible. But it was probably one of the best trips I've ever had.
Right, that's a life experience.
Yeah.
And is it more of just, again, it's obvious, it's more of the camaraderie, the idea that you're going with these guys to a different place, and you're right on the beach together.
Yeah, you're right on the beach, and like going and exploring, and it was just so much fun. And I remember we'd go out to this nightclub afterwards, and like, it's just strange being in a place like Cyprus where there's a mix between the Greeks and the Turkish people there, and then going out into a nightclub and seeing all these people, because it's not like anything I'd really experienced much. It was more like nightclub techno, like, and it was just fun to just see guys go out there, and here some of them are 40 plus years old and loving it.
Right, but you're documented as doing the same thing. Machine Gun was talking about it in one of the past podcasts, that you will go cut a rug yourself.
Oh, I love dancing. I love dancing, and
Under the influence of nothing.
Yeah.
Just life.
Yeah, and you know what it is it's just like, especially when you're in strange places and like you're at these nightclubs, and like, man, why not? Like, just go out there and have a good time. I remember this one time in Germany, El Generico was there, Doug Williams was there. We were having such a good time, and we all go back to this crappy place where we're all staying afterwards, and we were all just like, man, that was such a fun night, and like, it's cool.
All right. Now you're living in Vegas. First of all, you
Vegas.
lived everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you a nomad?
Yes. And you know what? This is the longest I've lived anywhere since I've been 18. I've lived here for 2.5 years with a brief 1 month stint where I moved to Tampa. But yeah, when I was 18, I moved to San Antonio. From there, I moved to Memphis. From there, I moved back to Aberdeen, Washington. From there, I moved to the Bay Area. From there, I moved to L.A. Then I moved back to Aberdeen, back to L.A., back to Aberdeen, to Philadelphia, back to Aberdeen. I moved up to a little place called Federal Way so I could be closer to the airport. Then where did I move from there? I moved somewhere else, and then I moved to Las Vegas. So
I'm trying to think where it was. I can't remember. It's just everywhere. Do you own a bed, or do you just take people's
Well, do you know what? I used to not own a bed. Since I've been in Vegas, I actually got a bed. And now...
Is that the first bed you've owned?
No, I mean, I own a bed in Aberdeen, but because I actually own a house there. One of my buddies rents a room from me. But this is the first bed that, like, if I were to move, I'd want to take with me.
Yeah.
Like, because I got it like a Tempur-Pedic bed, so it's good for my back and everything. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a nomad.
And you don't live the Vegas lifestyle, though, do you?
No, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, 10:30 every night.
But you're doing MMA and grappling.
Yes. It's
And besides bacon, this is a passion.
yeah. So it's I train with Neil Melanson, who's he was Randy Couture's head cornerman for his last couple fights, and he's just a super progressive grappling coach, and it's just really fun to train with him. The only bad thing is a lot of times I get home and I don't have any energy, so I may get in only once a week, and only for an hour
from the road.
or
You're
something.
saying,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So it, I don't get to grapple as much as I'd like to, but yeah, it's definitely a passion and helps keep me sane a little bit.
I mean, you talked about if you didn't go to WWE, you'd move to Thailand or like.
Oh, I'd love to move to Thailand. I still want to move to Thailand
and just kickbox people.
Yes. What it is that Thailand, they have these kickboxing camps where you can go and it's relatively cheap. It's like $1,000 a month or something, and they pay for your room, your food, all your training and all that kind of stuff. And it's right on the beach. You can get hour-long massages for like $10. And
I know a couple places in Chicago.
Yeah, and so yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where, regardless of what anybody believes about religion or anything like that, the only thing that we know is that we have this one life, right? And so there's all these different things I want to do. And the hardest thing about wrestling is that I love wrestling, but there's also a zillion other things that I'd like to do with my life.
And do you feel, I don't know, because you're so good at it, is it you're cuffed into it that you feel responsible to do it, or?
Well, the problem now is that I don't know how to do anything else to make money, right? And I'm not doing wrestling just for money. Like I really enjoy it, but I've been wrestling essentially full time since I was 18. There was a brief 3-month time where I had a couple jobs and stuff, but since I was 18 and I don't know how to do anything else. And if you don't have any job experience, what are you going to do?
And and just knowing your vision was always like, well, I'm still going to go to school, and you were randomly going to school.
Yeah, I actually nearly have my associate's degree. I am 5 credits away from my associate's degree. I'm just missing 5 credits of PE.
Because you haven't done any physical education.
you can't take PE classes online. So,
well, I don't know. Can you take them around the world in wrestling rings?
Yeah. I don't know how that works. So.
But is now what are you? You're 31. You're like me.
I'm 30.
30. Oh, you young.
Yeah.
But do you say, okay, maybe obviously I'm not going to go to school and learn another trade? Like you said, like this is all I know now. Mm-hmm. Is it at that point or
no? My mom went to school when she was 40 and got her master's degree, and now she used to work with underprivileged kids. Now she works with the Native Americans and stuff to help them out with psychology and stuff like that. So she does a lot of therapy stuff, and so her going and getting her master's degree at 40 was no big deal. And I've never made lots of money. I've never been one of those guys who's made $1 million or anything like that. But I don't spend a lot of money, so I've been able to save a lot of the money that I've made, and so I could take a couple years off and just go to school, and then. And then do whatever. So
Greenpeace was a thing for a while.
Yep. I'm
just going over your.
So I was gonna go into the Peace Corps. And so I applied for the Peace Corps, but they wouldn't take me because I have no real skills. The problem for the people with the Peace Corps is that they get a lot of flakes, and that's even with like college graduates and stuff like that. So they want you to have some sort of degree or be able to, if you don't have a degree, be able to speak a second language or have some sort of actual skill, like know how to do irrigation systems or something like that. I don't know how to do anything, but if you give me a shovel, I can dig a ditch, and so
a diploma from Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy.
I can teach you guys how to do a wrist lock. So, which is, what's funny is when we did those seminars and stuff, you can teach people who want to be wrestlers how to do wrist locks, and they don't even want to learn it. So, imagine these people who don't want to be wrestlers; they definitely don't want to learn it. So,
I mean, you've like today you're in New York City. They got a driver driving you around.
Yes.
I'd love to know like some of those almost perks are like. Hey, here's independent wrestling. I mean, because like I said, kind of going back to the beginning, is you were Mr. Independent Wrestling. You know that lifestyle, and now here's the lifestyle of WWE. Like, what are some of those? This is nice.
The biggest this is nice is almost every venue has a shower.
A shower.
That's my big thing. The getting driven around by a car, I don't care. You could pick me like when Wayne and Mary would pick us up in their van. I didn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I mean all that kind of stuff.
But I'd like to know the differences. Like some of the, hey, or stuff that you've done. Have you done promotional stuff? I always enjoy.
I haven't done a lot of that. They don't use me to promote a lot of stuff. But just like this is my first third-party signing that I've done with WWE, where they've picked me up with like the car service and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting that they really treat you like you're a superstar, which is
because we know we're not.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
We're just schmucks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that the whole concept of being a superstar is ridiculous. Everybody's just people, and like
Today, we're sitting here in this hotel room. It's Punk's hotel room, and I have like this wedding, and I'm just sitting here, and like it just reminds me of those first trips, almost like up to St. Paul, where we just sit in a hotel room with like 5 people, and to me it's just Punk, and then I know that there's a fucking like a mob that just wants to touch him.
Yeah.
And it's it's almost like you are this quote unquote superstar, but like I know you're just a dude.
Right. Well, and realistically, the people don't think I'm a superstar either. I was just at this signing with Zack Ryder, and it was just interesting because with his YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff, he has so many like these hardcore fans, and I have a couple from left over from the independent days, but people who are WWE fans aren't necessarily huge Daniel Bryan fans. And people would be like lining up to get Zack Ryder autographs, and then they like sheepishly walk by me with their head looking down because they don't want my autograph, And so it's like, but it's interesting because in WWE things are different. Things are really important. Your entrance is so important. You know what I mean? Coming out and doing something. And I remember Ricky Martin. Ricky Marvin. Yeah, sorry, Ricky Marvin telling me in Mexico that the most important thing isn't your wrestling or anything like that. It's your entrance, it's your gear, it's your physique, and he was really frustrated with that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds frustrating because I've always just walked to the ring, and my thing has always just been I get in there and wrestle. And now. And I still remember that he said that, and now in WWE it's totally the case. That is so much. 90% of becoming popular in WWE is your entrance, your ring gear, and your physique. And it doesn't matter if I'm a really good wrestler because most of the time you're not out there wrestling for that long. So
and Jill Thompson made your design.
Jill
right?
Thompson is the best.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Jill Thompson is the Eisner Award-winning comic book artist of Beasts of Burden, which is one of my favorite comic books. And so she designs all my ring gear and all that kind of stuff. The hardest part is she sends me all these awesome designs. I can't get people that are reliable enough to make it in a timely fashion.
Right.
So I've actually kind of found somebody in Georgia who's starting to do things for me in a timely fashion that fits and everything. But man, ring gear people it's hard.
And like I've always said that there's so much money to make in ring gear but what happens is someone finds a good one. Then they get swamped with orders. Then they go crazy, and they're like, "I can't do it anymore." And then you never hear from them again.
Yeah, well, I think the key is if you get really good at ring gear, is to limit the number of people you do ring gear for.
Yeah.
So you can't take every order that people send you. Mm-hmm. Like you just have to say, "Listen, I'm swamped right now. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Maybe if you get back to me in a certain amount of time, But nobody does that. So.
And then going into entrances and stuff that's important. One of the reasons that I always love you, and I always tell this, is at one point you weighed 199 pounds, and everybody's known in wrestling for always jacking up their weight. You would be billed at 185.
185, yeah. Well, it's because I didn't start at 185, but my wrestling weight has always been 185, and I like to mess with people a little bit. And the only person who's really gotten angry with me about it was Austin Aries. He was like, because I think he was billed at 190 something, or maybe even 200, and there I am getting billed at 185, and clearly taller and a little bit bigger than he is, and so yeah. But yeah, I just think it's funny.
It always says something about just the fact that for years, for 50, 60 years, wrestling has, Andre the Giant standing on the platform to be taller, and Vince, and here you are, just almost like a rebel outlaw, just like, fuck it, man.
Yeah, well, I think my thing has always been that it didn't matter what my size was or anything like that until kind of I got to WWE and they want you to get bigger and stuff like that. But like in Ring of Honor, those people didn't care what size I was because sometimes I fluctuate 5 to 10 pounds or whatever, and it never made a difference to those people. Like what they wanted to see was the in-ring action.
And I was always grateful for that too, as a guy who kind of always deals with kind of being bigger and like always because. Obviously body images in WWE, but in ROH, I would always, in my head, but like Gabe and them, they never give a shit if I was a couple pounds heavy,
Yeah, no, and I know that they talked to a couple people whose weight got a little out of hand, you know what I mean? But other than that, all they want you to do is look like an athlete, right?
And perform.
Yeah, and perform, and go out there, and it's interesting because if you look at some of the fighters, the UFC fighters, they don't necessarily have the best bodies, like a lot of them don't have any chest because it's counterproductive to have these huge chest muscles. It's just more weight, especially when you're having to cut weight and stuff like that. Like a lot of that kind of stuff, it's just for show, And I've always been a very functional trainer. I like training for function. So.
But you're tanning now, though.
I'm not tanning.
Are you?
I'm spray tanning.
No, I recommended that to you years ago.
Yeah, but I had no interest in being tan, and that's the thing. I still have no interest in being tan, but they have an interest in me being tan.
So but then you said like I was covering up your what are they called?
Vitiligo.
You're like, yeah, I'm putting patches on it and I'm tanning.
I never put patches on it.
You didn't, or you were putting lotion on it to make sure it doesn't get. When you were going under the tanning booth.
Oh, yeah. I had to cover it before.
Right. But I was like, why wouldn't you just spray tan?
Yeah. Well, I was never really a good tanner before. I never really wanted to tan. I just felt, maybe I should, or, And so, like, and I didn't understand the spray tan thing. And now I kind of do it sometimes, and I just hate it. You know what it is? It's spraying chemicals all over your skin. And that's probably worse for you than actual tanning. But because I have this vitiligo, it's... it's just safer for me.
Everything's worse for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it first. We only have this one life.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going down.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like everything's wrong. Everything's going to get you in the end.
Yeah. And especially because we live such unnatural lives. So it's interesting because we've evolved as humans, right, to be in small, close-knit societies. Well, now we don't have that. How do people mostly communicate? Via text message, via internet? How often do people actually see people who love them? Very rarely. I know I saw my sister this week. This is the first time I've seen my sister since May. Right, and so how often do I see people who actually love me? A couple times a year, you know what I mean? And the rest of the time,
right now, Brian,
and how often do we see each other? The last time and so I'm around a lot of people who like me, but to be around people who actually care about you and like genuinely care about your well-being and like that sort of thing, it just doesn't happen a lot nowadays, especially with our profession, being that I live so far away from my family. So.
Well, you can be loved on the Vegas Strip, I think, any day of the week.
For $100 at the Asian massage place.
Just pick up a flyer.
Right. Yeah. So.
Well, good, man. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're happy.
Thank you.
You have a YouTube channel.
So I did have a YouTube channel.
Where you called me out.
What? Did I?
You motherfucker.
Well, the whole thing with the YouTube channel is that with WWE, you can only feature so many people, right? And Zack Ryder did a great thing with going on YouTube and making himself a name. You're doing a great job with this on the podcast of providing an alternate source of gaining fans and gaining followers and stuff. And I felt
showing the world who you are.
Yeah, and I felt like I needed to do that. The problem is that I am not technologically savvy in any way, shape, or form. And then when my camera broke, I was like, well, now I don't know what to do. So now I had 2 episodes of my Technique of the Week videos, and that was out the window. So,
well, all right. So they can't watch that. Twitter, You're on Twitter.
I am Twitter. I haven't probably tweeted in over a week, and this is. I'm so bad with all of that kind of stuff because to me it's unimportant, but it is important, right? It's really so important, and
you just don't want to do it. You don't want to be bothered.
Well, it's not that I don't want to be bothered; it's that I don't enjoy
it.
It's not that I even hate the idea of it. I don't enjoy it. It's not something that like like I live my life based around my passions. Like I do the things I like to do, and that's one of the great parts about being a wrestler is that you don't have to necessarily do all these things that you don't want to do. And but then all of a sudden now there's all the social media that I probably should do, but I don't necessarily want to do it, and so yeah, but if people want to support me,
I'm trying to. This is what we're getting at. I'm trying to get you supported
okay,
here.
So here's how people can
Make a check out to Greenpeace.
No. Well, actually, heifer.org. It's HEIF. I don't know if it's 2 F's or 1 F, but .org. What they do is they like provide, say, sheep or cows or something to villages so that they have their own way of creating their own food sources and that sort of thing. So if you're going to donate, that's my favorite. But if you want to help me specifically, the best thing that people can do is really cheer for me when they come to the shows. Bring signs and stuff because that's very visible to the people in the thing, and then buy merchandise. But I hate to ask people to buy merchandise because times are so tough for everybody right now. Like, why? I don't think if you have the option between saving money for your kid's college fund and buying a Daniel Bryan t-shirt, I think you should probably just put that money in your kid's college fund. But I probably shouldn't say things like that.
Yeah, but that's your charm.
Right.
Honestly, that is a better sales pitch. Like, more people will now buy T-shirts because you tell them not to.
So, and apparently, what's funny is WWE has all this stuff that comes out. Now they're coming out with some Daniel Bryan wristbands, those, and like, I'm like, how? I don't wear anything like that. I don't know how that becomes
Could you just
marketable.
picture you, like, in all this, how Cena is decked out in everything? Like, just standing there looking awkward with your hands to your side.
Yeah.
And Bryan Daniel apparel.
Yeah.
Really flashy colors.
Right, yeah. So, but I think they're actually coming out with a new Daniel Bryan t-shirt, which is way better than the other one that looks like I drew.
How many, including myself, how many texts did you get of like, what is that t-shirt?
Lots, and and it was so funny because I said I'd like it to look kind of like an indie band t-shirt, and you know what I did just come out with? I just came out with my first hit single.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Can it be Song of the Week?
I mean, I suppose, but it's Kimya Dawson, who a lot of people know her. She did the soundtrack for that movie Juno.
Right.
And so she lives in Olympia, and we started talking on Twitter and stuff like that. So anyways, she did this song, and her album just came out. It was last week, I think. She did this song about Captain Lou Albano, and I do the backup vocals for it. I rap. I'm a rapper.
Stop this. You stop this.
So look up Kimmy Dawson, Captain Lou. You can buy it on iTunes. It's actually the whole album is actually, if you like that kind of stuff, it's really good.
Yes.
So
yes, and yes. And your website, real quick.
I have BrianDanielson.net that never gets updated, but
Perfect.
I mean it does get updated maybe once or twice a month. I put stuff on there, but I've started to think that what I'm going to put on there is YouTube videos of matches that I really like. Like but not of you, not of me.
Colt
of
Cabana versus Sal Rinauro.
Yeah, Colt Cabana versus Sal Rinauro. I love this match, and I want WWE fans to see all this whole other world of wrestling out there that's just different and awesome. So
I remember giving, and you don't even know this. I gave a match of you and Claudio. I think it was from Toronto. I remember giving it to Norman Smiley and being like, "Look, there's awesome wrestling," and he was like, "That was wonderful," and he watched it and he loved it. So I understand the idea of wanting to share great wrestling.
Yeah. Well, and when I got let go last year and was doing the independent stuff, that was my whole goal, was to just bring more people to independent wrestling, and and it worked to an extent, but I don't know if they stayed. So
well, if you got 3% of. It's a start.
Yeah.
If they have no clue, that's 3 more people or 3% more people.
Yeah.
I miss the camaraderie with you too, buddy. I miss the road trips. I miss the good times, but it was great to see you. I appreciate you being on the show. I know all of us, this community, this family, we're all going to support you in whatever you do, whether you're on Superstars, SmackDown, the video game, your action figures. We love that you're out there. You're doing it. You finally made a name for yourself. You deserve it so much, man. And I appreciate you being on the show. That's it for this week. Before we get out of here, though, let's get into some plugs and
upcoming events.
All right, the best way you can support ColtMerch.com. T-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs. I got a Twitter at Colt Cabana. Follow me. See what I have to say about the world of professional wrestling, what I have to say in general, or who the next guest on The Art of Wrestling is going to be. My email, if you're a promoter, you want to put me on your upcoming show, convention, whatnot, coltwrestling@gmail.com. I got a P.O. box. I love to get snail mail when you guys send it to me. That's on the front page of WeLoveColt.com. Every Monday night, myself and stand-up comedian Marty DeRosa, we do a web series, CreativeHasNothingForYou.com. It takes a minute. Please go watch it and support. I appreciate that. And we got a Facebook.com/AOW podcast. That's a great way to go over there. We can talk about each episode each week. Some upcoming events. Saturday, November 12th, I'll be in Austin, Texas. AnarchyChampionshipWrestling.com. Sunday, November 13th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. ChikaraPro.com presents their very first pay-per-view, high noon. I'll be wrestling Archibald Peck, Marchy Archie. Friday, November 18th, Chicago, Illinois, ChicagoStyleWrestling.com. Saturday, November 19th, heading back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, IWCWrestling.com. Friday, November 25th, Chicago, Illinois, Billy Corrigan's ResistancePro.com. Saturday, December 3rd, LaSalle, Illinois, DreamWaveWrestling.com. Thursday, December 8th, Raleigh, North Carolina, GougeWrestling.com. Friday, December 9th, Charlotte, North Carolina, PWExperience.com. And Saturday, December 10th, York, South Carolina. Same thing, PWX and then Experience.com. Guys, this has been The Art of Wrestling. Hey, for Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.